we've seen very impressive data with ide-cel in the KarMMa trial that led to the FDA approval, namely overall response rate of 73%, a CR rate of 33%, MRD negativity rate of 26%, and PFS about 9 months, right? Unprecedented data in a heavily pretreated triple-class refractory population, more than double of what we would expect with other agents. But every time we have a drug or CAR T therapy approved, the question is, will the results be as good in patients who would not qualify for clinical trials for the most part, in the real world when we use it in our clinics and hospitals? And there's always this concern it might not hold up because those patients might be ultra-selected because the clinical trial criteria are so stringent. So what we did is we created a US academic consortium of 11 sites that treated patients with standard of care ide-cel CAR T-cell therapy. And we looked at response rates, we looked at progression-free survival, we looked at side effects. And I have some good news to share, and this data is being presented by Dr. Doris Hansen, one of my colleagues at the IMS meeting. The response rates were just as good as the standard of care, as the clinical trial KarMMa showed us. Over 80% of patients responded. CR rates were just as good. Progression-free survival was very similar at 9 months. Cytokine release syndrome and neurotoxicity were just, at the same levels as we saw in the KarMMa clinical trial, despite the fact that approximately 75% of patients would not have been eligible for the trial because of either organ dysfunction, renal failure, low blood counts at the start of therapy. So while the majority of patients would never have qualified, they have just as good efficacy, and very importantly, tolerability and safety was comparable to the KarMMa clinical trial. And I think this gives us a lot of hope that these therapies are feasible and can be translated into a routine clinical care.